Yo, what's up, homies? This is OC Gang, so the brand new video, and today I'll be counting down my top 5 ships from World War II. Yes, obviously I didn't do a top 10 due to the fact that there's way too many ships that I like, and really it'd be like something like top 50 instead. Obviously it's not going to be like the most powerful, it's like, so if you expect some ships to be on here, they're not going to be in here, they're going to be on a separate video. They're going to be on, like, if you're looking for the largest, biggest battleship with the biggest guns, then, you know, go look at the top 10 Japanese, or whatever. It might be top 5 actually, I'm not sure. Whatever, of what video that I'm going to do later. But anyway, I haven't done that yet, so don't go looking yet. These are just, I'm just starting with this top 5, and hopefully that should put in place what I agree with the ships. But really, it's also, it's not only just the powerfulness that I'll be looking at, it's also the impact they've had on me, because each ship had an impact on me, whether you know, it's odd, but they actually did. They actually did. And also the historical impact, and yes, really, and just really the general, how they look, sort of. There's one I added which is hideous, you might see it now on the screen, absolutely hideous ship, but, you know, but that ship is very special because that ship cannot fucking die. So anyway, let's go and get in, and we're going to start this at number 5. The Petropavlovsk. Now this here isn't exactly the Petropavlovsk. This here is actually the German heavy cruiser Lutzow. Now what happened was that obviously before World War II started getting kicked off, Russia and Germany were allies, essentially, because they both invaded Poland. But they were actually allies, and what happened was that the Russians wanted to buy all of the Admiral Hitler-class battlecruisers. They wanted to buy Eugen, Hitler, Blucher, they wanted to buy all of them. The Germans went, no! And they went, wait, we do have a couple of ships that we aren't using. You know, there was the Sedits, sorry, my pronunciation's a bit off, and the Lutzow, which is here. And obviously what happened was that the Germans went, alright, we'll sell it, and they actually sold it double the price. They sold it double the price of how much she costs. It was ridiculous, and she wasn't completed. As you can see, she didn't have the superstructure done, she didn't have a secondaries, and she only had one forward gun turret installed. And so basically what happened after that was that the Russians decided, alright, we're going to finish it. Project 28, that's what the battlecruiser was put under. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong, it might be 82. Might be 82. And anyway, and then what happened after that was that, well, obviously Germany did attack, and what happened was that the Battle of Leningrad came. So what happened was that the Russians sent their ship to Leningrad, you know, be a big ship, you know, relieve the siege from Leningrad. Then what happened was that U-boat came around the corner, torpedoed her, and she had to be run aground to stop herself from sinking. Actually, this happened. She actually went hunting after the U-boat, which you don't do as a ship. And what happened was that eventually she was grounded, but Stalin wasn't having none of that. So obviously he gave the order to raise it, work on her, and basically she was back out in the field under a new name, not the Petropavlovsk as she originally was. Fuck. She was sold to the Russians, and she was given a new name, Petropavlovsk. I believe she was Project 82, 28, correct me if I'm wrong, might be a bit wrong there. And obviously, basically they just decided, right, we're going to build her. And obviously war broke out and they went, okay, we can't build her. So they only had her partially built. And so they sent her to Leningrad to relieve the siege of Leningrad. And what happened was that basically all this stuff just mashed together, and then eventually there was a U-boat, and the U-boat hit her, and then she ran aground to stop herself from sinking, and then that was it, story over. But not really for long, because what happened was that after that, Stalin obviously said, no, I don't want this happening, you know, this is a weapon of war that the Germans gave to us, I'm not going to simply let it, you know, whatever, so what happened? Raised it. Work was done to the Petropavlovsk, given a new name, Taliesin, I believe, Taliesin, sorry, a bit off with my words and language and names. And obviously what happened was that she actually then went back to the siege of Leningrad, and what happened was that obviously eventually the Russians pushed them back. And this is actually, not many pictures are from her, like, you know, this is like one of the only few pictures of her, and obviously, you know, you can see her funnel here, but look, there's no superstructure built on her at all, you know, And you know, and obviously after the war, she actually survived the war, the only Hipper class battlecruiser to survive the war, and she was, correct me if I'm wrong, and eventually what happened was that she was used as a training ship in the 50s until eventually being scrapped. And so that's the end of the Petropavlovsk. And it was due to the fact that she came back from the fight that she actually is quite important to me. So anyway, let's go on to number 4 now. At number 4 we have the USS Missouri. Yes, the USS Missouri here. I have a model of her here. Moi. Oh crap, I almost dropped you then. Don't want to do that. But anyway, and she was in fact, she was an Iowa class battleship, one of the 4, correct me if I'm wrong, yes, 4. Her sisters being USS New Jersey, Iowa, Wisconsin, and herself, Missouri. And obviously what happened was that she was essentially the end of World War II. She was where World War II ended. It was also due to the fact of battleship that I like her as well. But you know, she's one of my top 5s due to the fact that she is in fact one of the most powerfulest battleships ever constructed, really. She had bigger guns than other ships, etc, etc, and she actually is still around. She isn't like destroyed, she's still around waiting for the next war, I think, personally, because the reason why she historically impacted was due to the fact that Japan signed the surrender. Tojo signed his surrender on the deck of Missouri, and that is where World War II ended. It didn't end at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, it ended on Missouri. And it's actually rather interesting because USS Arizona, the first ship to fall from America, well, correct me if I'm wrong, not exactly the first ship, but you know, one of the first, where the World War II started for the Americans, and Missouri is right behind her. The end of World War II. Start of World War II, the end of World War II. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that's why she's number 4 on the list. So anyway, let's go and have a look at number 3. At number 3 we have IJN Congo. Yes, Imperial Japanese Navy Congo. Now a lot of people will be thinking, why Congo out of all ships? You know, there's Fuso, Nagato, Mutsu, Yamato, Musashi, you know, tons of Akagi, you know, Kaga, you know, brilliant ships, you know, but why Congo? You know, battlecruiser converted to a battleship. Why her? Well, it's due to the fact of historical significance, because because Congo is actually a British ship, in my opinion. She's not Japanese, in my opinion. She's British because she was built and designed in Britain. She is British. She isn't exactly Japanese, in my opinion. Well, she is, but you know, she's sort of like, you know, born in Britain, raised in Japan, and the fact is that she was actually one of the oldest. She was as old as HMS Hood, basically. I think she might be older, a bit older, but you know, that's the thing, the fact that the Japanese were just getting out old warships and just bringing them back, you know, just fantastic. She was a fast battleship, one of the fastest battleships that Japan had, you know, and her and her sisters were just excellent, absolutely excellent. But eventually what happened was that the Americans decided to use submarine USS Sea Lion and goddamn torpedo her. But what's actually interesting about her, she isn't found. She's actually a lost shipwreck, and I hope to find her, and that's why the impact on me, because in the future I hope to go and find the wreck of the Congo, even though her forward gun battery located here blew up, so that's going to be quite hard considering the damage to the wreck. But I think I might be able to pull it out. I think I might be able to pull it off and find the wreck of Congo, if I'm lucky. I just need to talk to a Dr. Professor Robert Bob Ballard for his permission, and then it should be okay. And by the way, it has nothing to do with Kankole at all. If you think it has anything to do with Kankole, because she's one of my favourite characters, it has no relevance whatsoever, so don't even go there. Okay? So anyway, let's move on to number 2. Now we're getting into this was actually the hardest, because number 1 and number 2 for years, for about ever since I was 12, it was hard. It was very hard between these two ships. These two ships, the next ones, the number 1 and number 2, they are some of the best ships, and this is going on to, like, you know, the proper, you know, this is one of the oldest rivalries in naval history, what I'm going on to, and obviously you're gonna guess from what ships they're probably gonna be. So anyway, let's go on to number 2, and at number 2 we have the British battlecruiser HMS Hood. Yes, she is here. Yes, she is a fantastic ship, in fact, and really, she was absolutely superb. She was a last really battlecruiser built by Britain. She was the most powerful ship in the world at the time for 20 years. 20 years she was the most powerful warship ever constructed, you know, and she represented Britain. She was just a pride of Britain, you know. She was essentially a British. She's like tea. She's like tea. Every British person loves tea. If you don't love tea, then you're an idiot. Alright, I love tea. I drink it all the time. I drink it in between like recording videos. Before like number 5 and number 3, I had a cup of tea. That took me about 10 minutes, which is why probably I look different. But but the thing is that she was in fact, you know, brilliant, and she took part. It's just due to the fact of what she meant, you know, to not only Britain but also to history people and navy people, you know, is that she was in fact the last, and she was the first and last of her kind, really. Everyone's like because she was an naval class battlecruiser and only 3 were designed, Anson, Howe and Hood, but the problem was that obviously they only completed the one. The other 2 were scrapped and their names were given to King George V class battleships, because Beatty and Jellicoe were too controversial because the big cluster mess out of Jutland, where we somehow won because we lost more ships, because fuck physics, am I right, people? And the reason why she is just so special is because she went up against a goddamn behemoth of a ship, just one of the most, I don't know, I just can't explain, you know. She was one of the ships of the Battle of Denmark Strait, my favourite naval battle out of all of them, you know, and she was just fun. I don't know what to say, really. I generally don't know what to say. The only reason why it was actually hard deciding between me and it was actually hard for me to decide between HMS Hood and Prince of Wales, because I like Prince of Wales as well, but in the end I chose HMS Hood due to the fact that, you know, HMS Hood she's a good looking ship, like a really good looking ship. You know, some ships I look at and I think, yeah, but and it was obviously, yes, due to the fact of how much of an impact she had and how she was in fact, you know, took part in my favourite naval battle of all time, and she was the victim of the Battle of the Denmark Strait. You know, it was these 4 behemoths just mashing together, and it was really, this was the turning point. Really, the Battle of Jutland was the turning point in our navy when we sort of lost it. This affected Britain so much. The loss of HMS had affected us, and that's the reason why she is so high on the, she is number 2. It's only due to the fact that in fact I just didn't know about her before. If I knew about her before number 1, then she would have been number 1 on the list, but she isn't, because number 1 is in fact a different ship. Number 1 is, in my opinion, the most powerfulest ship afloat, because Missouri didn't sink a ship, Yamato didn't sink a ship, but this ship actually did sink a ship. She actually sunk number 2. And number 1 of my top 5 ships from World War II is the German battleship Bismarck. I mean, Jesus Christ, this girl, flipping out. She was essentially the best, one of the best damn ships ever. Yes, I do have a model of her as well, and she is an absolutely fantastic ship. She was fast, she had heavy armor, she had big guns, she had everything Germany wasn't allowed to have for a battleship. She was the successor to the Skarnos, and Skarnos was a right bitch to sink as well. But this girl, I mean, Jesus Christ, she was like the most powerfulest out of all of them, and she had two great commanders in charge. Yeah, HMS Hood, she had a great commander, but I mean, come on, she had Gunfer in charge, and Captain Lindemann, and you know how I like those guys, you know. So really, but they didn't have John Leach.
Hard apart! Gear 150! Make snow!
But I mean, Bismarck was by far the most powerfulest. You know, she sunk HMS Hood. That's how powerful she was, and everyone's gonna be like disagreeing with me. But I mean, you know, she just didn't go down without a fight. And in fact, she was one of the largest manhunts in history of mankind. Alright, because the entire Royal Navy had to be called, and she took on about 3 warships. Well, 2.5 if you count Dorsetshire. Technically, she's half, but you know, she just kept on pounding everything, you know, that was coming at her. You know, she just wasn't taking no for an answer, and she just kept on fighting and fighting and fighting until the end. And even in death, as a wreck, she looks absolutely fantastic as a wreck. She's absolutely fantastic as a wreck, and that's what makes this ship special. Because the ship also has to. It depends on the ship. It really depends on the ship. But she's just a fantastic wreck. And really she outclasses all of the other ships, really, in my opinion. Yes, I know many people are saying different things, blah 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 blah, but really, you know, she was actually the second ship for me to ever found out about. First ship I found out was Titanic, and what happened was, I remember the book was underneath the TV in my old house in Manchester, and obviously it was written by the man himself, Dr. Robert Bob Ballard, and then obviously I found another book next to it on Bismarck, and you know, and obviously I read about her, and she is a brilliant wreck condition she is, and obviously and she's always been a favourite battleship of mine just because of how long, you know, found out at the age of 3 or 4 I believe, you know, and how old am I now, you know, 13 years of my life, flipping out, you know, I've known about her. But, you know, and she really is, essentially she was one of the only few ships, you know, she point blank, well not point blank, well she took out HMS Hood, you know, with 5th volley, you know, but really it was one hit, you know, just one lucky hit, and, you know, it was one lucky Citadel hit, and gone. It was really, you know, yes, I know how Hood sank. I know, I watched the documentaries, I know, okay. But yeah, and so anyway, and that ends this video here. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really want you to comment and know what your favorites ships are. Obviously, some people, I think, I can obviously tell one person's favorite ship is, judging by their name. But yes, but really, I'd actually be rather I'd be rather interested to find out what's your favorite ship from World War II. Jingles is HMS Belfast, which quite surprised me, actually. But you know, obviously, you know, I would have thought it should be the ship that he served on. Oh wait, World War II. Duh. Obviously, the ship he served on wasn't from World War II. Complete brain fart then. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, peace out, mommies.